The 2012 Telstra Businesswoman of the Year is Caroline Creswell.
Yay for me! So I just borrowed something off Anna's speech before, I hope you don't mind. She might have had a gold medal, but I'm very proud to stand before you as the 2012 Telstra Australian Businesswoman of the Year. I love all of the amazing finalists that I've met and got to know through this process, and I love that Nancy from the Northern Territory just came up to me in the corridor and told me that I'm deadly, which I thought was gorgeous. I've now given 4 speeches, and so I have covered a lot of different things. However, I'm never short of a word, so I thought I could entertain you with a few other stories. So in the short time since I won the Victorian Businesswoman of the Year, I have been invited to some pretty amazing different dinners. So I keep saying the calibre of my dinner party invitations has skyrocketed. The first one was to go for dinner with the Prime Minister to Flower Drum, which is a really swanky restaurant in Melbourne. And I actually got there and luck had it, they sat me next to her, and I got to spend the night talking about the things that I'm passionate about working mums, and it was just an amazing night, and it was just an honour to think the awards have given me that. I was then invited to, this one's even better, so hold it. I was then invited to Admiralty House by the Governor-General, Her Excellency Quentin Bryce, to have dinner with Prince Charles and Camilla when they were here. I know, it gets better. No, that was the best party invitation. And as I keep saying, I'm really fascinated, Telstra, how you're going to beat the dinner invitations now that I've actually won the whole thing. So I'm thinking maybe the Pope or Obama, I'm up for it. So I thought, as I said, I've spoken about a lot of things, but maybe just telling you about meeting Prince Charles would be quite a good story. So when the invitation came, instead of telling us what to wear or how to curtsy, they said, and they have all official names, thank goodness, no one, just don't dob me in that I didn't use all the highnesses, but they said, could I let them know what I'm interested in, what my passions are, and a bit more about me. So I submitted my little paragraph, and I got there, and you get properly announced, and I came out and I got to shake Prince Charles's hand, and he said, I am so excited to meet you and I can't wait to hear all about Carmen's. I almost fell over, and so I then am standing around the lawn, and he comes up to me and he said, tell me about Carmen's. And I said, well, we're listed in Sainsbury's in the UK, and we've actually just got a trial recently at Tesco. He said, that is so fantastic. He said, I can't believe that you can make a product and sell it over to Tesco in the UK. He said, I'd love to try one of your muesli bars one day. I said, well, actually, out I popped my one muesli bar. And as my husband knows, I had to decide that night, as I did tonight, whether I was going to bring a muesli bar or a comb. And I dramaed in the hotel room, and I said, better go the muesli bar, I'll use my fingers on my hair. And so Prince Charles stood there with his gin and tonic and his muesli bar, and he chatted away and asked me lots of questions, and then when he went inside to sit down, he got his help man's, I don't know what you officially call them, and he said, now make sure you give me that muesli bar back tomorrow because I want that tomorrow. And the man said, yes, sir. And so we sat down, and over dinner, sure enough, I get there and I'm sitting one seat away from him. And so we're talking, and I had like 3 bits of party conversation I'd prepared, which was exhausted by then. I didn't have another hour and a half of Prince Charles small talk. So we're kind of, I'm trying to chat about different things. And Quentin Bryce gave a beautiful introduction, and she said, Australians aren't really into showing off. It's not our style at all. However, tonight I've invited 16 young Australians who I think are the shining light of Australia's future, and I wanted to show you how amazing I think that our future will be, and spend time with these people. It was a gorgeous speech. It's on the internet if you're interested in looking at it. So Poe was talking about, I asked Prince Charles about what he'd enjoyed the most, and he said he'd loved going to Coonawarra, to the wineries. And Poe said, isn't it great going to these sort of country towns where you can just kind of be a dag? And he looked kind of bemused. And then I went, oh my goodness. So I said, you don't know what a dag is, do you? He said, could you explain? So I then had to tell Prince Charles that when a sheep goes to the toilet, that's what hangs off their backside, and he thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. So then he stood up and he gave a speech, and he said, I've met the most, I'm so honoured to be here. And he said, I've met people like Carolyn Creswell, who makes muesli bars. She's sending them over to the UK. She's pulled one out of her little tiny handbag and given it to me. How entrepreneurial is that? And I think that shows the spirit of Australia. So then, that was all gorgeous. So then Camilla comes up to me later and says, I just want you to know that I'll be having half of that muesli bar tomorrow. I'm going to make him share. So that's a true story. So in the interview, getting back to the real world now, in the Telstra interviews yesterday, they asked me to answer 2 questions. Why me, and what message would I like to get across? I said, well, they're easy, I can tell you that straight off. Firstly, why me? Because I could be you. I don't come from money or power or a business family. I come from the checkout at Coles. And I feel proof that I'm an Aussie success story, and this is what it can really look like. So I hope that with this award I'm able to inspire other young people that it's not about necessarily being the highest IQ. You can do what you want if you set your mind to it. Secondly, what's my message? So, what could I do to use this award to influence something that I would like to change? And I said, that I proudly stand before you all tonight and in front of the judges to say that I have a full-time job, I sit on several boards, and I am a good mother, and I know that I'm a good mother. And I think that it is absolutely not a mutually exclusive thing, and we don't question working dads that you can work full-time and be a good father, but we constantly, secretly, quietly question working mums that they can do the same. I don't think it's necessarily the corporations. In fact, I think workplaces are really coming along leaps and bounds. I think it's schools, and I think it's school mums, and I think it's, the society. And to quote the castle, I think it's just the vibe of the thing. Let's all do what we can to challenge, and challenge. I promise I will do all that I can, and I hope that you will too. Now, something I learnt years ago at Carmen's, I received a phone call and I had half of my business taken by one of the supermarkets overnight, and it took me a long time to get all those products listed back in, and from that situation happening to me, I have learnt to be totally a numbers girl. I know what numbers, I know off the top of my head everything that went through the cash registers at Coles and Woolies last week, and the problem children, anything under 6 units, I spend my life trying to make sure that I can get them above it. So tonight there are 37 finalists, and you've heard 6 speeches. So my numbers tell me there's 31 unread speeches that are sitting in handbags in this room tonight. And to reiterate what I said in Victoria, I think that's a real shame. People go to a lot of effort to write a good speech, and I encourage you to take home, for the support crew to take home your finalist and make sure that you have a glass of champagne and listen to that speech and celebrate what they wanted to say, because I think it's a shame not to hear them otherwise. And on a more light-hearted statistical note, I think that there is more blow dries in this room per square metre than there are anywhere else in Australia tonight. So I think that we should also recognise how fabulous everyone looks and what an effort we've all gone to be here. And finally, thank you again to the Carmen's family, for everyone who stood up before, for making my dream come true. I just thought a few people might stand up. I didn't imagine more than half the room would, and I was shocked. So thank you as well for supporting me. I appreciate it enormously. I don't do what I do for accolades or recognition, but I have to say this feels really fantastic. I never won any trophies at school. I actually married a man who came into the house with boxes of trophies, and he goes, "Where are your trophies?" I said, "I've never won a trophy." And I was always a little jealous of those that did. And now I've won the trophy of all trophies in my eyes, and no one can ever take that away from me. So Pete, feel free on my tombstone to add 2012 Telstra Businesswoman of the Year. I love it. I'm enormously proud, and thank you everyone so much.